Section 1. The Weight of the Past. There's a moment in everyone's life when they pause, whether willingly or forced by circumstance, and ask, why am I still here? Why does nothing change, no matter how much I want it to? It may be whispered in the stillness after a long, exhausting day, or shouted in frustration after yet another cycle of self-sabotage. And though the context is different for everyone, the root of the question is the same. Why does my life keep repeating itself? We are taught to believe that change comes from action, new habits, new goals, new routines. So we chase them. We buy planners, join fitness programs, read self-help books, and set alarms earlier. For a while, it feels like progress, but eventually, the old patterns creep back in. The motivation fades, and you find yourself right where you started, wondering what's wrong with you. But what if the problem isn't your discipline, your goals, or your environment? What if the real issue is that you're trying to build a new life with the same identity? You see, your life isn't a product of your intentions. It's a reflection of your personality. Your personality is how you think, how you feel, and how you act, repeatedly. Over time, that repetition becomes automatic, and eventually, it becomes you. This is what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls the loop of being. Every morning, you wake up and step into the same mental and emotional patterns as yesterday. The same self-talk, the same anxieties, the same habits. This familiar rhythm feels like stability. It feels like you. But in truth, it's a neurological script you've been rehearsing for years. A version of yourself that your brain and body have memorized so well, it no longer needs your permission to run the show. So when you try to change your life, when you try to change the job, the relationship, the habits, you're still showing up as the same person. And your nervous system does what it's designed to do. It brings you back to what's familiar. Even if that familiarity is pain, procrastination, or self-doubt. We don't fear change. We fear losing the identity we've built our survival around. But here's the truth you may not have heard before. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your patterns. Your past is a memory, encoded in your body as chemistry, a record of experience. And if you learn to become this version of yourself through repetition, you can learn to become someone entirely new the same way. But first, you must be willing to see it. That the old self isn't truth. It's habit. And habit can be broken. This is not about denying your past. It's about liberating yourself from it. Because the future you want can't be built by the version of you that's been rehearsing the same story every day. To become new, you must stop acting like the old you is all there is. You must break the illusion of permanence. You must interrupt the performance. And it starts with a single revolutionary idea. Who I've been is not who I have to be. Section 2. The Trap of Repeated Identity. Most people don't realize they're living inside a psychological echo chamber. Each day feels like a fresh start, but in truth, it's a continuation, a reboot of the same operating system. From the moment you wake up, the body remembers who you were yesterday, not just physically, but emotionally and neurologically. The thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, The behaviors you engage in, they aren't spontaneous. They're rehearsed. Think about this. When was the last time you truly thought something new? Not reacted to your environment, not recycled yesterday's concerns, but generated an original conscious thought rooted in vision, not memory. For most, it's been a while. And that's not because you lack imagination. It's because you've become entangled with a version of yourself that was built by survival, not intention. Here's how it works. Your brain, as efficient as it is, prefers the known. Known patterns, known reactions, known emotions. These become shortcuts, and over time, your physical body learns to predict your responses before your mind is even aware of what's happening. You walk into a room and immediately feel anxiety. You open your inbox and feel dread. Someone criticizes you and you spiral into self-doubt. These are not accidents. They're conditioned reactions. And each time you respond the same way, you reinforce the same identity. Dr. Joe Dispenza often says, if you're thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, and doing the same things, you're going to have the same experiences. It's not a punishment. It's a pattern. This is the trap of repeated identity. You believe you are your personality, when in fact your personality is just the sum of everything you've practiced over time. You've practiced being anxious. You've practiced being reactive. You've practiced being avoidant or controlling or unsure. That practice is so deeply ingrained that it now feels like authenticity. But what if authenticity is not who you've been, but who you choose to become? That's the radical shift. True authenticity isn't about aligning with the past. It's about aligning with possibility. You are not stuck because life is unfair. You are stuck because you've memorized a self that was never designed to evolve. And now, it's time to unlearn the feedback loop, to question the automatic. Start noticing the thoughts that arise when you wake up. Track the emotional patterns that replay in similar situations. Name the habits that run without your permission. Don't judge them, just see them. Because the moment you see the program, you're no longer trapped by it. You've stepped into awareness. And awareness is the first key to freedom. In the next section, we'll explore how your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors form the blueprint of your reality, and how changing your inner world is the most powerful way to change your outer world. Because your personality is not permanent, it's programmable, and you hold the pen. Section 3. The Blueprint of Reality. What if your entire life is not shaped by fate or luck or even effort, but by your patterns? Everything in your outer world, your relationships, your career, your finances, your health, is a reflection of your inner world, your beliefs, your emotions, your habits. It's all connected. Think of your personality as the architect of your reality, and your thoughts, feelings, and actions are the blueprint. What you believe determines how you feel. How you feel determines what you experience. This is why change is so difficult. Most people try to shift their results without shifting their source code. They try to get new outcomes while thinking the same limiting thoughts and feeling the same recycled emotions. It's like trying to build a new house on the same unstable foundation. You can't think, "I'm not good enough," feel anxious, and expect to create a life of freedom and joy. You can't act out of fear and expect results rooted in courage. It doesn't work that way. Here's what neuroscience tells us. Every thought you think creates a chemical signature in the body. That chemical triggers a feeling. That feeling then influences your next thought. And so the loop continues. Thought, feeling, behavior, experience, over and over until it becomes reality. So if you want to change your life, you have to interrupt the loop. Not just once, but consistently. You must think greater than how you feel. This means holding the vision of your desired future, even when your current circumstances contradict it. It means practicing gratitude even in your bank account is low. It means choosing calm when everything inside you wants to panic. Because the moment you think greater than your environment, you begin to rewire your brain. The brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one that's vividly imagined. So when you rehearse your future with emotional clarity and repetition, your brain begins to believe it's real, and it starts creating the neurological structure to support it. This is where true transformation begins, not from force, but from frequency. You become what you mentally and emotionally rehearse, not what you occasionally hope for. And here's the beautiful part. The more you act in alignment with your vision, the more you break the grip of your history. You are not destined to repeat your past. You are designed to reprogram your future. And that power begins with choosing thoughts that align with who you want to be, not who you've been. In the next section, we'll look deeper into how to break the habit of being yourself, and how your body, mind, and emotions can finally begin working together instead of against you. Section 4. Breaking the habit of being yourself. There's a moment when you realize that inspiration is not enough. You've watched the videos, read the books, highlighted the quotes, whispered yes to the truth that moved you. But then Monday comes, and your body wakes up not in alignment with your vision, but in agreement with your history. You want to be calm, but you feel stress before your feet hit the floor. You want to be focused, but distraction hijacks you by breakfast. You want to be confident, but self-doubt speaks louder than your affirmations. This is not failure. It's biology. Your body has memorized a version of you so well, it starts performing it before you're even conscious. You are literally being acted out by the past. And to break that habit, you don't need more motivation. You need interruption. Breaking the habit of being yourself begins with disrupting the default. It's catching the moment where the old self tries to reclaim center stage and choosing something different. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that change happens when you become greater than your environment, greater than your body, and greater than time. Let's break that down. Greater than your environment means you stop letting your surroundings dictate your state. You don't need silence to be peaceful. You don't need validation to feel worthy. You carry those states within you, regardless of the chaos around you. Greater than your body means you stop obeying the chemistry of your past. When your body says panic, you say breathe. When it says quit, you say stay. This isn't denial, it's rewiring. Greater than time means you stop rehearsing your future as a copy of the past. You no longer say, "I'll always be this way," or "it's too late." You speak from the now, with power, not from the wounds of then. To do this, you must become intimately aware of your emotional addictions, those familiar states that run your life like background apps. Anxiety, guilt, anger, hopelessness. They're not your truth. They're your chemistry. And chemistry can be changed, but not by force, by presence. Sit with the emotion without reacting to it. Notice the trigger without obeying it. Create space between stimulus and response. That space is where your new self is born. The new self isn't just an idea. It's a practice. And like any practice, It requires repetition. Every time you choose a new thought, a new feeling, a new response, you fire new neurons. You lay new circuitry. You send a new message to your body about who you are becoming. And the more you do this, the more that old habit, the old self, loses its grip. You're not changing because you hate who you've been. You're changing because you finally see who you could be. In the next section, we'll explore how to embody that vision with intention, how to use visualization, meditation, and aligned action to build the neurological and emotional structure of your future self. Because becoming new isn't about hoping for change. It's about rehearsing it until it becomes you. Section 5. Emotional Reconditioning. Training the body to feel the future. True transformation isn't intellectual, it's emotional. You can understand every concept, recite every quote, and still stay stuck in the same life if your body hasn't learned to feel differently. That's because the body doesn't change through logic, it changes through experience. And most of us have emotionally rehearsed the past so deeply that it's become our baseline state. This is why you can say, "I'm ready to be free," but still wake up feeling trapped. Why you can say, "I believe in abundance," but still tighten up every time a bill arrives. Your body hasn't caught up to your vision. That disconnect is where the real work begins. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, your emotions are the chemical feedback of past experiences. If you constantly feel guilt, resentment, or unworthiness, it's not because life is currently creating those emotions. It's because your body has memorized how to be those emotions. Your nervous system is addicted to them. And like any addiction, the absence of the familiar feels uncomfortable. So, when you begin practicing gratitude, calm, or confidence, even before anything external changes, it feels fake. Your body says, "This isn't real." And that's true at first. But here's what matters. The body can be reconditioned. It just requires repetition. You must teach your body what the future feels like before it arrives. This is emotional reconditioning. When you meditate and visualize a future where you are healed, abundant, peaceful, or powerful, and you allow yourself to feel that emotion fully, you begin teaching your body to trust a new chemical state. You're no longer reacting to the past. You're rehearsing the future. At first, this feels awkward. It feels unearned. But with time, something miraculous happens. You begin to generate those emotions at will. And when you can feel whole before your circumstances say you're whole, you've broken the chain. You're no longer waiting for life to change to feel better. You're changing how you feel, and life is starting to mirror that change. This is the secret behind what people call manifestation. It's not magic, it's neurochemistry. You're aligning your internal state with a future possibility, and your brain begins to recognize it as familiar. And because your brain is a prediction machine, it starts looking for evidence to support what it now believes is real. This doesn't mean you abandon logic or action. Quite the opposite. Emotional reconditioning prepares you to take aligned action. It regulates your nervous system. It opens your perception. It rewires your reactions. And from that place, you make decisions not from fear or habit, but from clarity and inspiration. Let's be clear. This is not about bypassing pain. It's not about pretending everything is okay. It's about elevating your internal state so that you can face challenges with power instead of panic. The person who feels abundant is more likely to see opportunity. The person who feels worthy is more likely to set boundaries. The person who feels peaceful is more likely to de-escalate conflict. Your emotions aren't just reactions, they're activators. So train your body to feel the future you desire. Practice the elevated emotions of your future self until they feel familiar. Practice until your nervous system says, "This is who we are now." And soon, the world around you begins to reflect that inner reality. In the next section, we'll explore the science and strategy of sustained transformation. How to reinforce your evolution with rituals, environment, and continued reflection, so you don't just have a breakthrough, you live. Section 6, Rewiring the Brain. How neuroplasticity makes change possible. By now you understand that change begins in the body, but it must be reinforced in the brain. That's where the science of neuroplasticity comes in. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to reorganize itself, forming new connections, strengthening some pathways, and pruning others, based on what you focus on and repeat. It's proof that you are not hardwired. You are, in fact, constantly being rewired. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every action you take fires a set of neurons. And the more often those neurons fire together, the stronger their connection becomes. This is the basis of the phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. Your brain is not trying to make you happy. It's trying to make you efficient. And if the most familiar pattern is anxiety, self-doubt, or defensiveness, your brain will default to that, simply because it's practiced. But the moment you become aware of a disempowering thought and choose a different one, you create a new path. The moment you feel an old emotion but breathe instead of react, you weaken the old pattern. The moment you visualize your future and match it with an elevated emotion, you lay the groundwork for a new identity. This is the real miracle. You are not stuck with the brain you've inherited. You are sculpting your brain every day, consciously or unconsciously. And the more intention you bring to the process, the faster you accelerate your transformation. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that the brain doesn't distinguish between a deeply imagined event and a real one. When you visualize yourself acting, thinking, and feeling like your future self, with clarity and emotional intensity, you are training your brain to believe, "This is who I am now." Repeated enough times, this new circuitry becomes your default. This is not about faking it until you make it. It's about firing it until you wire it. You're not pretending. You're rehearsing. How your future self walks into a room, how they speak with confidence, how they stay calm in discomfort, how they lead, how they love, how they live. Every visualization becomes a neurochemical event. Every elevated emotion becomes a signal that says, "More of this, please." But it's not just about repetition. It's about emotional engagement. The brain changes when there is emotionally significant experience. So, when you visualize your future with strong emotion, when you feel freedom, empowerment, peace, or joy in your body, you accelerate the wiring process. Your subconscious begins accepting the new identity not as fantasy, but as fact. And your actions begin aligning with that new identity automatically. Here's what this means practically. You start reaching for what supports your vision. You start saying no to what sabotages it. You don't have to force it. It becomes instinct. Because when the brain and body agree on a future identity, the old you no longer fits. This is how sustainable transformation happens. Not through willpower alone, but through mental rehearsal, emotional alignment, and neurological reinforcement. So the next time you sit down to visualize, don't just see the future, feel it. Let your whole system believe it's already happening. You're not waiting for permission. You're creating the evidence. In the final section, we'll explore how to anchor this transformation into your daily life, so your evolution becomes your lifestyle, and your new self isn't a peak experience, but a permanent way of being. Section 7. Becoming the new self. Living the transformation. Lasting transformation isn't about a single breakthrough. It's about turning a new way of being into a new way of living. The true evidence that you've changed is not in how inspired you feel during meditation, or how clearly you see your future in a visualization session. It's in the choices you make on the ordinary Tuesday. It's in the moments when no one is watching, when old habits try to slip back in quietly. It's in your response when life tests you, not to hurt you, but to see if you really are who you say you're becoming. Becoming your future self requires more than insight. It requires a system. So, how do you anchor all of this? 1. Create conscious rituals. Rituals are not routines. They are sacred agreements with your future self. Whether it's morning meditation, evening journaling, or a midday breathwork practice, these are the moments when you reinforce who you are choosing to be. Don't underestimate the power of repetition. As you consistently return to your rituals, you create a rhythm of becoming. Each session is a message to your subconscious. This version of me is real. 2. Design an environment that reflects your evolution. Your space should remind you of your intention. Clean out what no longer aligns. Add visual cues that inspire and ground you. Photos, affirmations, meaningful objects. Surround yourself with people, energy, and content that nourish your transformation. Remember, your environment is always programming you. Be intentional about what it's saying. 3. Practice micro-alignment. Small choices to live as your new self. You just need to catch the small choices. When you choose to pause instead of react, speak kindly instead of shrink, you're building trust with your new. These micro shifts accumulate. They build momentum. They create the new normal. 4. Reflect often. Celebrate constantly. Growth isn't always visible from the inside. That's why you must pause regularly to look back. Notice how differently you respond now. Acknowledge the triggers that no longer control you. Celebrate the fact that you keep showing up. Gratitude locks in the progress. Reflection reminds you that even when it feels slow, it's working. 5. Allow grace for setbacks. You will have days where the old self resurfaces. That's not failure, it's feedback. When a trigger reactivates you, it's an opportunity to respond with awareness, to remember who you're practicing to be. Don't fight the shadow, integrate it. Every misstep is part of the map. Your transformation isn't linear, It's layered, spiraled, and alive. The truth is, you were never broken. You were never behind. You were simply rehearsing an identity built by the past. Now, you're rehearsing something new. You're being differently. And in time, that being becomes believing, and believing becomes becoming. This is how your new self takes root. In grand declarations, but in quiet repetitions. Not in waiting for life to give you permission, but in giving yourself full authority to rise. Because the real you was never the one stuck in old patterns. The real you is the one who chose to see through them, and chose every day after to become free. So now, ask yourself, if you are not your past, if you are not your pain, if you are not your old story, who are you willing to become?